Vision World Foundation team for the past 4 years. Welcome, Ralph.
How you guys doing out there in video land?
Well, you know what, Ralph? It's you and me and our two guests who are also men. So this is like our first Cooking Without Looking show with all males.
So we're having an all-male review today, huh?
Yes, we are. And today we welcome Hoby Wedler, a totally blind entrepreneur from California. We will also welcome Chad Bouton from Tampa, Florida. In our segment 3, Food for Thought, we'll feature Ralph and his current employer, hotelplanner.com, about hiring people who are legally blind. We are honored to be with our friends from the American Council of the Blind and to be part of the community events program. Everyone on the Cooking Without Looking TV show is blind or partially sighted. So, without further ado, let's get started with the Employment of the Blind edition of the Cooking Without Looking TV show. First up on the show is Hoby Wedler, who is a totally blind entrepreneur from California. Welcome, Hoby.
Well, thank you very much to everyone. Allen, to you, thank you for that warm introduction, and it is surely an honor to be with you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, so thank you. As you said, I'm totally blind, was born totally blind, grew up cooking in my family. My parents did a number of things beautifully, but one of the things that I'll always give them immense credit for and I'm so thankful for is that they never lowered the bar, and they always had very high expectations of me as a blind guy. They also told me and my sighted brother time and time again that our lives were the lives that we wanted to live, and we needed to take responsibility for our lives, ourselves, and our actions as we live these great lives that we have. And you know, if we succeed at something that we challenge ourselves with, that's great, and we should be celebrated for that success. And if we fail, we should be able to take the blame for that. And that attitude, Allen, makes success so much sweeter. It just feels so good and is so much fun when we can take challenges on and succeed at those challenges. I was employed early on by my parents as one of my chores to make, and it wasn't even a chore because I love food and flavor and bringing flavor and aroma and texture together to form truly outstanding dishes. So I was very honored when I got to work with my parents starting at about 10 years old to make large pots, and I mean about 10-gallon pots of soup that they would freeze in small quantities and then take that soup to work as a lunch. That's how I got introduced to the world of flavor and bringing flavors together to create truly exquisite dishes. And you know, I just love home cooking. It's therapeutic. My partner and I think that there's nothing better than an evening after a long day of work with where we cook a meal and enjoy a glass of wine together while we cook. I did fall in love with science, in particular chemistry, while in high school, and really thought that I wanted to teach chemistry, and ended up going to college and studying chemistry for my undergrad. I also got a degree in US history because that's another love of mine, and I thought maybe if grad school in chemistry doesn't work out, I could study history. But I ended up meeting a man named Professor Dean Tantillo at the University of California, Davis, who would become my graduate advisor. I ended up entering his group as a computational chemistry graduate student and earned my PhD in chemistry in 2016. Now I realized while in graduate school, and I had the honor of teaching several chemistry courses, that I had to make my coursework less accessible to me in order to make it full of video animations and photos and all these sorts of things for my students. So I made it very accessible to my students, which made it less accessible to me. And I actually work, I don't know how many guests you have on the show regularly who work in food and beverage, but I began working as a consultant with the Francis Ford Coppola winery. Francis Ford Coppola is a film producer, if you have heard of him, and also a winemaker, in 2011, which brought me deeply into the world of food and flavor. I developed a program which is called Tasting in the Dark, where we basically host truly blindfolded wine tastings, where the blindfold is not meant as a gimmick, but is meant to really allow us to focus on information we take in from our surroundings without being distracted by our eyesight, which I think is very important for the sighted community to learn how to use their other senses. And as I like to say, become more sensory literate. We're visually literate because that's the sense that a lot of sighted people use all the time, but we can be so much more in tune and engaged with the world if we are more sensory literate. I ended up starting a company with my business partner as a consultant in the food and flavor industry. I call myself a sensory poet, and that's my ability to really understand the way things taste and smell, and explain to our clients how they can take their recipes, which are already very good, and make them even better than they thought possible. That's what we do. I also co-founded a line of seasonings, which we'll be using and featuring today, that are available online at Hoby, Hoby.com, called Hoby's Essentials. So that is me in a nutshell. I'm sorry if that was a bit of a long introduction, Alan, but I'm honored to be here.
That is an absolutely amazing story. You are an amazing person. I can't quite understand why you were gainfully employed, making pretty good money, as I understand it, as a blind person, and then you up and quit just to start your own business. Why'd you do that?
Well, I was in graduate school, which some could consider gainful employment, but it's a way to learn. And I just love working for myself. It's something I love doing. If I can create my own employment, I'm excited to do so.
That's amazing. Your parents remind me of my grandparents and the way they embarrassed me too. If I fell down, skinned my knee, they put a Band-Aid on me, told me to go back out and play. Quit crying.
Absolutely. Alan, were you born partially sighted?
Yes, I was.
Oh, that's incredible. And those
has dropped a little over the years, but basically I'm the way I was when I was born.
And the role models that we have growing up are the ones that shape our lives for the future, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Mine was great.
Yeah.
I remember him dearly today. I remember him teaching me to tie my tie. I remember him teaching me to tie my hockey skate so I could go skating.
Oh my gosh.
Going on with this before I get emotional here. So what is it that you're going to make for us today?
Yeah, Alan, I'm a lover of all things savory, and I'm a baker as well. I shouldn't say no to baking, but seeing that it's the summertime and it's a time to maybe enjoy a little bit of seafood, I'm going to be making some shrimp. My recipe is called roasted shrimp cocktail with Hoby's famous rosemary salt blend. Today, I'm actually going to use my other spice blend. I'm sorry I don't have the packaging to show you, but what I have here is a bowl of shrimp. And there's about 15 shrimp there. And what we're going to do, I've got a roasting pan that I'm holding up here, which is basically a half sheet for baking anything on. It's an aluminum pan. And then the other item that I have here is this jar, which is not my packaging, it was repackaged, is full of my Happy Paprika seasoning blend. So in here we have, I don't know, all sorts of ingredients from a little bit of sugar to salt. It smells really good, to paprika, sweet Hungarian sweet paprika, cumin, a little bit of ancho chili to give it just a little bit of sweet heat, and a healthy amount of ground black pepper. So I'm going to shake some of this.
You make this yourself?
What's that?
You make this yourself?
Yeah, we actually look for the co-packer to make it, and we sell it online at Hoby.com. Now you can see in my hand, I've got a tablespoon or so. Just going to hold my shrimp up here and sprinkle that on. I'm going to give it about that much again. And what's nice about this is a lot of shrimp cocktails involve boiling the shrimp and kind of just taking a lot of time to cook them. Here we're really just going to roast them, and it makes it nice and easy and accessible. So your sighted audience can see that now I've got some of my paprika blend on my shrimp. Now I'm a firm believer in using plenty of olive oil, in the cooking that we do. So I've got a bottle of olive oil shown here, my bowl of shrimp, and I'm just going to give these a nice liberal coating of the oil. There they are. And then we just, in this bowl that I'm using, which is a plastic, actually melamine bowl, slightly larger than a cereal bowl, I'm just going to use my hand and toss the shrimp with the olive oil and the happy paprika. These are raw shrimp, by the way, still with the tails on, that have been peeled and deveined. So I'm just, and you can,
okay.
the sighted audience can see that they're nice and coated. They have a nice smell of the happy paprika, and you can definitely smell the olive oil there. So now what I'm doing off camera is I'm dumping these out on my pan, and I am now holding the pan up on camera to spread them out. So a nice one single layer of shrimp here. By the way, you might hear some rustling that sounds like paper. And in fact, you would be correct. I have a sheet of parchment paper down on my baking sheet. What parchment paper does that I really like, just as a little pro tip in the kitchen, is it allows things not to necessarily stick to the pan. So I've got my shrimp nicely laid out there. And I'm going to go ahead and rinse my hands off camera. Here we do that. And I'll show you, 1 second here. Show you what we've created. I could have done an umpteen number of recipes, but I chose these shrimp because they're easy and fun. You can see all my nice shrimp laid out there beautifully, like a little one layer of soldiers there. Now I'm going to take this pan. I've preheated my oven, which is behind me, to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm going to go ahead and set my shrimp in the oven. And these are going to roast in that oven. Oh, that door closed a little loudly. For about 8 to 10 minutes, or until they smell nice and golden brown and delicious. I'm setting a bowl.
How hot is that oven?
What was that?
How hot is the oven?
The oven is 375 degrees Fahrenheit.
375 for about 8 to 10 minutes.
Got it, and that gives the shrimp just a really nice roasty character.
Can you smell them when they're done like that?
Absolutely, and that's how I know they're done. I use obviously I'm totally blind, and
Yeah.
I use my my sense of smell to know when the shrimp are just done to perfection. This is roasted shrimp cocktail with creamy chili sauce. So not just any chili sauce, but I have a great little technique where we make, and you'll really wow your friends. Let me tell you, when you make this kicked up creamy cocktail sauce. So while let me come over here in frame. There we are. While the cooking, what's nice about this recipe is that we can make our chili sauce. So I have another melamine bowl right here, which is going to be a nice display to do it in. I have just a can of good store-bought chili sauce. Doesn't really matter what kind you use. Got the label depicted there. This is a chili sauce is not spicy like the name might imply. It's more of a sweet base of chili and sort of flavors of ketchup and tomatoes. It's very tomatoey, mind you, and it has other seasonings in it, maybe a little bit of Old Bay seasoning and some other just really nice flavors in it. This one's a little bit thin. So
a mild or a sweet chili sauce.
That's it. Very, very nice and mild. So now, as you can see, I've added chili sauce to this bowl, this melamine bowl, and I've got a spoon that I've done it with, so I'm taking that spoon out. Now I'm going to add sour cream. So I added about 1/4 of a cup. I'm going to add about 1/4 of a cup of sour cream in here. And this is where this is the secret. This is where no one will know what you did, but they'll all just love the flavor. And it's a way of making that chili sauce ever so slightly creamy to make it richer. I don't know a better way to describe it, but it just richens up the chili sauce so much to have that creaminess. And shrimp are a little decadent in and of themselves, and it's nice to have a little bit of a decadent, just rinsing my hands here, pardon me, decadent flavor to go along with it, and it's a perfect summer dish. So now I've added my my shrimp and excuse me, chili sauce and sour cream. You can see what we have here. I'm just going to mix it up so we don't have any lumps. Now, Alan, tell me something about you. Do you like things that are a little spicier, or are you more on the mild flavor side?
I'm on the slightly spicy side, but not too terribly hot.
Well,
Spicy, that spiciness, I forgot what they call the name of it now, is good for your digestive system. And because I've always eaten chili and all kinds of hot things like that, I've had pretty good digestion all my life so far.
well, I love it. Okay, so what I'm adding, just to make people like you and me happy, is a little bit. I said in the recipe a teaspoon. You can add even more than a teaspoon because I think it's delicious if you like a little heat. What we've added there is horseradish, and I don't use the creamy, but I use the prepared horseradish, and it just really brings to the party a delectable flavor. I added a lot here. I added maybe 2 or 3 teaspoons because I know I'm cooking for some good family friends, and well, I happen to know them and know their tastes and know that they all really like horseradish. So you can see here, I have some nice horseradish, sour cream in my chili sauce, and it creates a really good flavor. Let's just see how this tastes.
Horseradish does well in a Bloody Mary too.
Horseradish is really good in a Bloody Mary. And by the way, you want to make a really rich, decadent Bloody Mary, coat shrimp just like we did with olive oil and a spice of your choice. And boy, oh boy, you can end up with just a stellar, excuse me, I'm shaking a spoon off here, a stellar Bloody Mary.
And put it right in the Bloody Mary. That sounds pretty good. Thought you were going to have me add a little bit of sour cream to it.
Well, you could. But the shrimp in particular create a really nice garnish for the Bloody Mary. Just enjoy.
Yes, they do.
Okay, so now we are ready. Let me just clean up my mess here. Just a little bit of spillage of chili sauce that I'm going to wipe up. Now,
I'm curious, are you working over a tray? I don't have enough sight to be able to tell.
I'm actually not working over a tray. I have done that before. I don't do it all the time. I tend to be a fairly clean, neat cook, so I don't always use a tray. But that's definitely a good option, and it's one that I use when I'm teaching in the kitchen quite a lot, is the tray to cook from and the tray to use to know where our stuff is. So what I'm going to be doing now, Alan, tell me, do you enjoy a little bit of lemon with your seafood?
I do like lemon with seafood, yes.
Good, and this will make you happy too. I've got a plate here. It's just a large plastic plate. That's going to be our serving dish ultimately. I'm stepping off camera to get a cutting board, just a small one.
Cutting board, did you say?
Yes.
Now, do you prefer plastic or wood?
So I'm a chemist, as I said, and I happen to have studied and understand kind of what goes into those wood cutting boards, and they're fine when they're new, but I'll tell you, when they're once they're very used, you'd be surprised how much bacteria can get into the actual cutting board itself. So what I have here is a plastic cutting board in one hand and a yellow lemon in the other. And we're going to take said lemon. I don't need more than about half a lemon. Just stepping over to my knife block here to grab a knife that is suitable. I'm just using a paring knife to slice my lemon just because that's what I grabbed. And I'm just going to. So I have half a lemon, as you can see on that I'm holding up right now to the camera. And I like little pieces of lemon. So I'm just going to cut this into a half again. So now I have 2/4 of a lemon. We'll cut these about 3 times down, and these just create the perfect little thing to squeeze on your shrimp cocktail. So I've got my lemon, which is basically done into 12ths. I have 6 pieces here. Sorry, 8 pieces here, so 16ths of of a lemon. That's half a lemon cut into 8 pieces. And I'm just going to spread them nicely kind of around, roughly but neatly around my plate. You can see what I have here. Sort of around, and the shrimp are going to go around the edge of the plate, and they will then be topped with the bowl of cocktail sauce and set in the center of the plate and create a nice presentation, I would say, that you could bring to a party. Now, this dish is really universal because we can do it when it's either when the shrimp are warm, like we're going to be serving it today. But I've taken this to countless parties where I cook the shrimp, even a day in advance, and then I cool them to room temperature and put them on a platter and cover them with cling film or saran wrap in my refrigerator. So they're just as good as they are cold as they are warm. And
cold.
A couple of factors, including time of year and well, just your preference, however you like to eat them.
It's interesting because I actually like shrimp better than I do lobster. And I've had plenty of both, but there's something about shrimp that I really like better. This little recipe of yours sounds great.
Well, it should be fun. And, if you don't have the Hoby's essential spices, which I highly recommend your guests find online and order, we'll mail them out. We mail them out usually on a basis every 2 weeks because we're mailing them ourselves right now. But if you don't have Hoby's Essentials, you can use salt and pepper or just regular seasoning salt from the spice aisle at your local supermarket, and that's also really quite good. The shrimp kind of speak for themselves. That's what I love about a good shrimp.
That's absolutely excellent.
I'll
Do
tell
you make your own cocktail sauce?
I do, but I have made my own chili sauce, which is a base. And that includes all sorts of ingredients from celery seed to ketchup to diced tomatoes and to hot sauce and a little bit of garlic. And but what I find
the chili sauce is a little tougher, but cocktail sauce is very easy.
Cocktail sauce is fairly easy. What do you put in your cocktail sauce?
Horseradish and ketchup. Yep,
and that works too. That's what I'll do sometimes in a pinch. Is I'll just do horseradish, ketchup, and add the creaminess. Add some sour cream and. You're golden.
Sour cream might be nice. I sometimes add a little bit of that liquid smoke stuff, even though it's got a lot of chemicals in it. It does have a little.
Good. No, I agree with you. That's got good flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Shrimp right now.
This is your finished product. I don't have any visual aid here at all as to what you're doing there, but I'm assuming that you're showing the finished product there. Would I be right?
Well, I'm actually, as you remember, my shrimp are still in the oven, so they have about 3 or 4 minutes left. And what I'm doing here is I have my plate that I'm holding up with the lemon that's just ready as a landing zone for the shrimp, and then my cocktail sauce here. And if you want to do something and go to Chad and then come back to me once my shrimp are done, I'm happy to show the finished product then, or we can wait another 3 minutes and do it then.
Well, actually, we got a little bit more stuff here. Ralph, do you have any questions or comments for Hoby?
Yeah, I was wondering, as far as with the fish, because I love fish as well. Would that work with fish?
Oh man, yes. As a matter of fact, this works really well with just about anything. The cooking technique might change a little bit for fish. I've done plenty of salmon this way, where I'll actually add a little, instead of olive oil, I'll do butter, and then the rosemary salt or the happy paprika. Either one of my spices are really good on fish. But like with salmon or even trout or sea bass or anything, take it and cook it for 10 minutes, but in a little bit of a hotter oven. And what you want to watch out for with fish is that it doesn't dry out. Here you can really you can easily dry out a nice, perfectly succulent fillet of fish. So you got to be careful there. Ralph, where's home for you?
Well, I'm actually home in West Palm Beach, so I'm on the East Coast. I do a lot of fishing myself. Preferably, we catch a lot of snook, snapper, sometimes a lot of, as you would say, grouper,
Oh, that's
things
amazing.
of that nature. And I love to eat fish. That's one of the staples of my, what I eat mainly.
Do you go out on a boat when you fish?
I've been on a boat. I mostly fish from land, from the sea walls and things of that nature. But um, I'm an avid fisherman.
That's great.
Hoby, there's a lot of really good fishing right off of the bridges and breakwaters and things like that down here. A lot of people do that and catch some really nice fish from these places. This is Florida. It's wonderful down here. I just live around the corner from Ralphie. I'm also here in West Palm Beach.
Well, that's beautiful. No, West Palm Beach is great, and I love Florida. So I guess in West Palm Beach, you guys are basically, if I think about it correctly, right between Orlando and Miami.
A little closer to the Miami area. If you look at that big hole in the middle of the state called Lake Okeechobee, we're right straight east of that.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Well,
it is smelling like my shrimp are about done. I am going to go ahead. I'm getting my pot holder because I learned the hard way not to grab.
pot holders are great. I love those oven glove things, big long ones.
Oh, they're great.
Oh man, they've saved my arms from burning on the edge of the stove or edge of the oven a number of times.
Oh, I know.
Pull that stuff out. Does anybody in our American Council of the Blind community audience have a question? They got the little hand raised thing there. I don't have any control over that.
I do not see any questions at this point. Oh, actually, I lied. We do have a question. Area code 330 ending 975. You may unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, you better not lie. Okay. So, what made you decide to become a cook? Was it just something you wanted to do, or is it something that you had figured out that you wanted to do, or?
Working with my parents, cooking food in our kitchen, I just really fell in love with it. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to get my shrimp out here. Cooking's just always been sort of part of my DNA. I find it so relaxing. I find it exciting. I find it so, as someone who's not a sighted person, food and wine are really my art forms. So I do a ton of work in the wine industry as well. It's an industry that I'm deeply passionate about. And, I've worked in the industry for over 10 years now in California's wine country. So it's just a fun place to do good work and really enjoy flavor.
The next hand we have is Herbie Allen.
Yes, hi. So quick question. I was curious about something. So you mentioned you were just relying on your nose to keep track of when the shrimp is done. You did not use any additional timers or anything like that?
I did use a timer on my phone.
You did use a timer on your phone. Okay.
Whether it's 8 minutes or 9 minutes or 12 minutes, that's where I use my sense of smell. But I did use a timer, and the timer went off, but I had it on mute, so it didn't bother people as it went off. But I did use a bit of a timer. Now what I'm doing, folks, is I'm transferring my shrimp to my platter. Just a few of them. I don't need to transfer all of these guys to get a good visual look at what we have. Okay, I've got my shrimp there. I'm gonna just wipe clean. I always think it's a good idea to remember how things look. I know how things taste, but we've got a community of sighted folks who we're cooking for. We want them to look presentable and delicious. So I like to wipe the edges off. If I mix something in a bowl, sometimes stuff rides up on that edge, and it's a really nice touch to just wipe that edge off so the bowl doesn't look dirty all the way up down to the level of the sauce there. So now I'm going to set my sauce on my plate with my shrimp, trying not to squish any little shrimp. There we have it. And I'm going to lift the whole thing up for the camera. What you'll see here is a plate, a large platter that I'm holding in my hands, right up at about chest level so the camera can capture it. And we have some roughly chopped lemons mixed in with some beautiful little shrimps here and a bowl of dipping sauce right on the side, just waiting to be eaten and enjoyed. And that is Hoby's roasted shrimp cocktail featuring famous rosemary salt blend or happy paprika.
Hoby, thank you so much. That looks great. I wish we had smell-o-vision because I bet it smells good too.
Oh, it does. And I wish you all were here so I could share it with you. But I think a lot of you are in Omaha, which is also great because you're celebrating the ACB.
Yes. Chanel, do we have any other questions?
Not at this time.
All right. Well, thank you, Hoby.
Oh, you're so welcome. And I'll be around.
Tell our, this is your chance. This is your advertisement. Tell our audience how we can reach out to you.
Well, I, first of all, love talking to anyone and everyone. Please don't be a stranger. And you can all reach out to me at my website, Hoby, HOBY.com, or you can email me. I got a really easy email. It's Hoby, HOBY, at Hoby Wedler. That's my first and last name, HOBYWEDLER.com. And if you want to reach me on any social media platform, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, if any of you are TikTokers, you can get me at theplatform.com, so linkedin.com, for instance, /Hoby Wedler. And you'll all get to me that way. Do not be strangers. Reach out anytime you want. And if the spices sounded yummy to you, please think about telling a friend about them or ordering them online. You can get there at Hoby.com or Hoby's Essentials, which is the name of the spices, HOBYSESSENTIALS.com. So if you liked them, tell your friends about them. If you didn't like the sound of them, well, you can tell your enemies about them and we'll still all win. And it has been absolutely incredible to be with you all today. I look forward to hanging out with you for the next few minutes and listening to what Mr. Bouton has to tell us.
Well, thank you again so much, Hoby, for being with us today.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Renee. Thank you, everybody. It's a real honor. I'll be right here listening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chad Bouton of Tampa, Florida. Chad, you there? Welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
I certainly can.
How about see me? Can you see me?
Well, actually, no. I've for some
well, yeah,
visual at all. Oddly enough, I have a little bit of eyesight, but I got a 35-inch monitor about 10, 12 inches from my nose here. And I don't have any visuals, so I've just got.
You know, I've been legally blind since I was 11 years old, and you think that would stop being such a reflex to ask people, "Can you see me?"
Yes, I know.
Especially when I'm here with the ACB.
I know it. Wait till you tell somebody you're totally colorblind. The first thing they want to say is, "Well, what color does this look like?" "Oh, I'm colorblind. What's it look like to you?" Chad. Wait a minute. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And I understand you have your own podcast, right?
Yes, I do. So my name is Chad Bouton. Pronouns are he, him. I am 29 years old. And since I was 11, I've been losing my vision due to autosomal recessive retinitis pigmentosa. So my formal background is in philanthropy from 2018 until 2021. I worked with Southeastern Guide Dogs out of Palmetto, Florida, as a philanthropist in corporate fundraising. I helped the company raise money so that they can continue offering service dogs to veterans who have served in the U.S. military, as well as all those who are visually impaired to get their guide dogs for free, to offer not only the dogs to people that are applying for free, but to offer our training, which is about 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the program, for free as well, to all those that have applied and been approved to get a guide dog. So that's my original background. And of course, unfortunately, as many people experienced during the ongoing pandemic, I lost my job due to the pandemic. So, I think as many visually impaired people, we always overcome anything that we are given. So it was just yet another struggle I had to overcome. And I just went back to my love of accessibility and just wanting to make this world a better place for those who are visually impaired. It started with writing articles for publications like Nintendo Life and the Unwritten Pub out of the United Kingdom, and working with the RNIB Connect Radio to basically just talk about video games and people playing it that are disabled, and how these companies can start making them more accessible so that people can play them easier. And that kind of led into the podcast. So excuse me. Currently, I am the host of the Hindsight is 20/200 or 20 over 200 podcast. It is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. And basically, we just talk about disability, whether it be visual impairments, auditory, motor neural, cognitive, sensory. We just kind of cover it all and just try to give people understanding and exposure so that they will better know how to interact. And just again, I think that education is really, really key when it comes to people that may not really interact with a lot of disabled people, so that they have a better understanding of the hardships that we can go through living with a disability. So that is what I do as the host of the Hindsight is 20/200 podcast.
I gather that your podcast is aimed at people with visual impairments, but do you ever get any of those light dependent people watching?
Yeah, I do a lot with visual impairment because that is my lived experience. So I, of course, can talk about that very well as someone who's been losing my vision since 11. But very early on in the podcast, I wanted to really just kind of diversify the podcast, because I just felt that I want to learn more about all of disability. So that's why I opened it up to everybody. So, we've had those who are deaf or partially deaf. We've had motor neural, chronic illnesses. I would love to have more people on with autism, or maybe just like epilepsy. So I would love to, kind of expand and have those people on as well, because for me, it's just kind of about pushing universal accessibility and inclusivity.
When I was mentioning light dependent people, that's what I like to call the totally sighted people.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes some of them are a little narrow minded too. So I just wonder if any of them ever watch your show.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have a lot of people that don't have any sort of visual impairment, or they're fully sighted. A lot of people that I grew up in my hometown are fully sighted. So I think my job is to kind of dispel the rumors and misconceptions that they might have because of the way that the media has displayed, or just some of the inconsistencies that they've seen in their experiences. So I just hopefully, can tell people if they pull up and they've never experienced disability or don't live with a disability, just please keep an open mind and just accept the knowledge that my guest or I can pass along. And hopefully, if it makes you think or change your behaviors, then I've done my job.
Same kind of stuff our show does all the time. You write line. Thank you.
Of course.
Dan, what is it that you're going to prepare for us today?
So I feel kind of bad following up after Hoby, because I am not going to be as fancy as him. When it comes to cooking and baking, I'm more of a work smarter, not harder kind of guy. So I'm gonna cheat pretty badly today. So basically, what I am making are it's a peanut butter chocolate chip with Reese cup cookies. I know that sounds very decadent, and it is. So for anyone out there that has a really good sweet tooth, but they don't want to go through all the hassle of mixing, baking, maybe getting flour on themselves, this is a recipe that I found through my grandma that tends to be pretty easy and quick to do. So that's what I'm going to be making. In front of me, I have my cookie dough, I have the Reese's, I have my tray, which I'm picking up, and of course, I have my cooking spray, which of course is the best place to start.
Have you pre-measured all your ingredients?
Well, the funny thing about the cookie dough that I am using, so you're gonna hear some rustling as I get it out. The great thing is that Pillsbury, they do refrigerated cookie dough. And the great thing about the refrigerated cookie dough, which I'm showing right now, there's a tray of it. I'm going to put it right down in front of my cookie tray, is that it actually comes pre-made. So it's already been mixed. It has all of its ingredients. Basically, all you really have to do is you spray your tray, you put the cookies on, you bake them, and then you're good to go.
That's cheating.
I told you I was cheating. So real quick, I'm going to give this a nice spray. I'm shaking my can right now. And also, tip for anyone that's visually impaired, always make sure that it's not pointing towards your eyes, because that's just no fun. So
Well, most of those have got a little dent on them. You can kind of feel which way you're pointing.
yeah, that too. So give it a nice little spray, put that down. And I'm going to take 3 of these. They're a little gooey from sitting out. So there we go.
Usually keep them in the refrigerator until right before you're ready to use them.
Yes, of course. But of course, I had to have them out ready to go.
Yeah.
So we'll get another one here. Put them a little bit apart from each other. You don't want them too close because they don't expand that much, but they, of course, they will bake and get a little bit rounder and fuller. So just separate.
How big is your pan, and then how many do you get on a pan?
Honestly, the way that I'm placing them right now, I'm just putting 6 on the pan, but this pan could fit easily, could fit 24 of these. So however,
How big is that pan?
I am not good with measurements, to be honest.
Regular baking pan, okay.
Yeah, a regular baking pan. I'm gonna hold it up and just show that I've separated the cookies. So basically what these will do is, you can put more on here if you want, but I just did for the purpose of the showing is I have 6 of them here. Now, when you bake these, preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, it calls for 10 to 14 minutes, but I found 10 minutes actually works a little bit better, especially for what we're going to do with the Reese's. So I'll get to that in just a minute. But I mean, if you want to cook them a little bit longer, you can. The one thing I will caution is if you have a stove or an oven that has, 2 racks, so a top and a bottom, I would actually recommend putting these on the bottom rack, because the problem with putting them on that top rack is sometimes, depending on how powerful you're cooking them at, it can overcook them if you put them on the top rack. So just keep that in mind if you're going to put these on the top rack to cook.
Overcooking could be devastating.
Yeah, you don't want
Reese's,
them. You don't want them to get burned. So I'm going to put these cookies to the side right now, and then I'm going to show you and talk a little bit about what we do with these Reese's cups. Of course, oh goodness, I'm just pouring them all on the table. So I have an empty bag now since I decided that I'm going to use all the Reese's. No. But you have your Reese's cup, and I'm holding it's a mini, so it might be hard for those with partial vision to see, but I have held it up in front of me. Basically, what you do is you will unwrap a Reese cup, and after you've taken these out of the oven, you're going to let them naturally cool for just a couple of minutes. You don't want them to get too hard, because while they're still soft, what you're going to do is you'll unwrap one of your Reese cups, and then you're going to push it slowly into the middle of the cookie where it's still nice, soft, and gooey. And then you're going to let the Reese's cup kind of sit and get in the middle of that cookie. So when
And melt a little bit.
Yes. So when it's all said and done, your cookies will end up coming out looking a little bit like this finished product here. So for those that can't see what I have, now the cookies have, of course, they've been pre-made. So this is the finished product. I have about, I would say 12, if I counted right, cookies up here right now on this tray. It's a different tray from the one that I use as a demonstration. And of course, I'm going to hold a cookie up now. So you see, they grow a little bit, but they don't get too big. And then, of course, right in the middle of that awesome chocolate chip peanut butter cookie, you've got the Reese's cup right in the middle, sitting there, ready to be eaten. And I would eat one right now, but then I want to be able to talk to you guys. But I really would love to eat one right now.
I'd be willing to bet the only way you could get that Reese's thing out of the middle is to bite it off, right?
Yeah. it's kind of I love it. You know, of course, if you don't want it to be as big, like you said, Alan, you can put them in right after they've come out of the oven, and then they'll just melt completely. And then once you push down to give them that little divot into the cookie, it kind of just fills that little hole with the melted Reese's. And then once it's completely chilled and cooled naturally, you kind of just have all this like Reese's, like almost like a Reese's syrup in the middle of the cookie. So you can also do it that way if you want a little bit more Reese's syrupy goodness.
I could see having a couple of those right after.
Oh,
What do you
yes.
think?
So if you have a sweet tooth and but you know, you don't want to spend too much time also and not get too dirty.
Right.
I think this recipe is the best way to go.
I think you got a good thing going there, eh? Ralph, you got any questions or comments?
Well, I love peanut butter cookies myself, so and Reese's, so that's kind of like a weakness for me. I'll be going to town on that.
Yeah, my favorite cookie flavor is also peanut butter. Of course, I always say, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of chocolate chip. You know, I like chocolate chip, but I've always loved peanut butter cookies so much. And then, of course, my favorite chocolate is a nice good Reese's cup. So like you said, it's really the best of both worlds.
I think you got a great thing going there. Great after my dinner.
That sounds pretty delicious to me. And I love your technique of divoting the top of the cookie to get your Reese's right in the center. That sounds really good.
I can't take credit for that. You know, all credit goes to my Mimi, my grandma. She's always baked with me growing up. You know, I don't know really what it is about baking that I love. Maybe it's a little bit therapeutic for me to just get in the kitchen and actually do make a mess. And, you know, this is one that she came up for me because, you know, she saw that I was struggling a little bit when I was starting to bake, and she just wanted to find a recipe that was easy and good introduction for me to kind of just get me addicted to baking. And she came up with this recipe, and, you know, all credit to her because it did start a lifelong love of baking.
That is great. Chanel, do any of our ACB audience members have any questions?
Well, I am currently waiting for people to get their hands up. While they're waiting, just a reminder, if you're on the phone, raise your hand with *9, on the computer, Alt-Y, on your Mac, Option Y, and on the phone, it's on the main screen. And yes, we do have somebody now. Jill, you may unmute and ask your question.
Hello, I have to say hello to Allen Preston. This is Jill Brondolo. I know you from way, way back. So I just wanted to say hello, and this is a great show. And my question is, can you send me over some of that shrimp and a cookie? Because they both sound delicious.
You know what? I'll make sure that the recipes get sent to you right after the show is over so that you can get the cookies. And I'm pretty sure Hoby would like to give you some of his shrimp.
Yeah, that sounds great. And that's awesome. He makes his own spice blend. So that's really cool. And I think it'd be great to have a collaboration of the Cooking Without Looking and the ACB chefs together. That would be a great show. So I'm just putting in a plug for that.
Well, thank you, Jill. And thank you very much for watching.
Yeah. So, and good to see you. It's been a long time.
I'm glad you came back to us again. Chanel, are there any other questions from our ACB audience?
We do. Area code 330, ending 975.
Yeah,
you may
this is
ask your
Stephanie.
question. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. And yeah, my question is, did you make those cookies from scratch?
No, I'm so, you know, with me is, you know, sometimes it's always been hard for me to find the right equipment when it comes to accessible cooking, just with the small area that I lived in growing up. And so in order to make it more accessible and fun for me to bake, my grandma did a lot of research in trying to find, you know, cookies that could be, you know, that you could make, you know, in the oven and then just enjoy. So no, I can't take credit for mixing, putting the eggs, the vanilla extract, the salt, and everything that goes into it when you're, whipping it and making it ready to go. This is a brand of Pillsbury dough cookies that come pre-made. They basically have been completely mixed with all the ingredients. And basically all you have to do is once you've got them out, you just spray your pan and you put them in the oven to cook.
We can thank the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Exactly.
Do we have any more questions, Chanel?
Oh, yes, we do. Herbie Allen, you may unmute, and just so you know, we have 9 minutes until 3.
All right, so I was just curious. I think you said your name was Chad, so I noticed you sprayed the pan, but Hoby actually used parchment paper, and I'm just curious, how come you did not use parchment paper? I recently actually myself learned that trick with making cookies, that it does help a lot. So I'm just curious as to how come you went with spraying as opposed to parchment paper.
Well, one, I've always
not to put you on the spot or anything.
No. I mean, that's what I've grown up doing. Cooking in the kitchen is, I learned this recipe. My mom and grandma was trying to teach me how to spray the pan. And I've honestly, this is the first time I've heard of the parchment paper. I've never really known it. I'm not as big into cooking as Hoby is. He knows so much more than me. That's why I said it sucks falling up after him, because his recipe sounds so much more fancy and sophisticated than mine. But yeah, the parchment paper is awesome. And definitely the next time I do these, I will invest in some myself.
Chad, thank you so much. How do our audience members reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So if they ever want to email me, my email is C as in Chad, M as in Michael, Bouton. So it's cmbouton@yahoo.com. The podcast has its own Twitter page. It's at 2200 hindsight. That's at 20200 hindsight. And if they would ever like to follow along and listen to the podcast, we've had a lot of great guests like the Two Blind Brothers, Be My Eyes, Sam Seavey of The Blind Life. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Hindsight is 20/200.
Thank you so much, Chad, for helping.
Thank you, Allen.
Which is the way we see blindness. And now we kind of get into our next section here. There's a large disparity in employment rates that have historically existed for people who are blind, and they still exist today. The most recent data from the American Community Survey indicates that 44.2% of people who are blind are employed and 10% are unemployed. Now I'm reading that, something's wrong there. There's only 52%. What about the other 48? Just 44% of people who are blind or visually impaired are employed, compared to 79% of people without those disabilities. Joblessness is closely tied to disability severity. As the worse your condition is, the less likely you are to find and keep a job. The employment rate for people with visual difficulty from 2014 to 2017, we see there has been a gradual increase in the overall percentage of the working age population that is employed, from 67 to 70%. That's regular people. The estimated employment rate for people with visual difficulties is much more variable, though, also on the rise from 29 or 30% all the way up to 35%. Today, we welcome back our Cooking Without Looking and Vision World Foundation team member, Ralph Smith. And Ralph is a consumer service representative at hotelplanner.com. Ralph is here with his employer, outreach manager, April Gotham. I hope I pronounced that right, of hotelplanner.com. Welcome to the both of you. You guys are there, right?
Yeah, we're here, Alan. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing just great. You know, at the beginning of the show, I said all of our people are blind and visually impaired, and I found out that April is a sighted person.
Don't hold that against her.
Yeah, don't hold
We
that
won't.
against me.
We'll let her go. We'll let her on anyway. Welcome, both of
What?
you.
No. Well, yeah. All right.
Ralph, maybe we should start with you. Would you like to tell us a little bit about your job?
Well, I work in the consumer service part. I'm a customer service representative, and I do calls. I work on the computer, and to be honest, this is like a home. I'm very blessed to have the opportunity to work here because they're all like family here, and they welcomed me like family. And you know, there were no looks of why is that person here, no, you know, side twitching or any animosity against me because I am blind. Because you know, there are other people that work here that have disabilities as well, but you know, I'm the one blind individual that is here, and I'm very glad to be here.
Do you work in the office or do you do this out of your home?
I actually come to the office. I actually have a cubicle that has a Windows view, which I don't know why they gave me a Windows view, but I'm I guess I'm one of the lucky ones that I can't look out the window, but you know, I'm glad to be by the window, have a window office.
Does it open so you could at least get fresh air?
No, I'm actually up on the 10th floor, like in the penthouse.
That's pretty funny. Anyways, April, how did you decide to hire someone who's blind?
Well, Hotel Planner has always stated that travel is for everyone. So that would be people who are blind as well. So the site should be 100% accessible. And the fact that Ralph works on it every day proves that it is. And he's able to interact with our hotel partners and our guests and supports us in our efforts and in our dreams.
So what are some of the things that an employer should consider before hiring a person who's blind?
They need to make sure their site is accessible. We have an amazing tech team that helps us make those changes and supports that effort. They need to be patient, train well. And I think the really cool part is like you can look and see opportunities to streamline the process. Sometimes we do things out of habit, but it's really an unnecessary step. And Ralph opened up that, opened my eyes to that. So.
Are there any differences between hiring an employee who's blind versus one who's sighted?
Yeah, I think we take things for granted when the person's sighted. And it's not that Ralph would, or that somebody that's not sighted doesn't do just as much as a sighted person, but I think that you're able to see a bigger picture.
Interesting. What would you tell other employers about hiring a person who's blind or partially sighted, legally blind?
I would say they should do it. And you will find that your processes might change. You'll find that you might be able to do things differently. Sometimes people are like, this is how we've always done it. Well, it doesn't always have to be that way. So it's definitely been a very interesting challenge for Ralph and for us. But I think it's wonderful. And we get to have him and Savannah here, his CNI dog, and give her treats.
Does he have a dog from the CNI school? Because I got one from Leader Dog right here next to
Yeah.
me. Well, behind me, actually.
Well, Alan, I actually got mine from Southeastern, right across the way.
That's what I thought. Yeah. See, everybody's got a seeing eye dog. I'm sorry, we didn't mean to pick on you.
So, but
I
It's
didn't
been
mean
awesome.
to pick on
Thank
you,
you.
April, but
No, no. I have dogs too.
just remember he's a Southeastern guide dog. And
Oh,
so
okay.
best, right? Next to
Yeah.
Leader Dog, of course.
She gets just as many treats.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Ralph and April, for talking about the issue of hiring people who are blind and partially sighted.
Thank you.
How do our audience members contact you?
They can reach out to us. Well, Ralph can give his email, but mine is April.Grantham. So that's GRANTHAM @hotelplanner.com. We also have a support email. It's support@hotelplanner.com.
Thank you very much, both of
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
You're more than welcome.
We're running a little short on time for questions. So if you would like the recipes from today's show, please go to our website at www.cookingwithoutlookingtv.wordpress.com. If you're a teacher of people who are blind or visually impaired, feel free to use our show for your students, as many organizations in over 38 countries around the world already do. Also, check our Cooking Without Looking podcast anywhere you get your favorite podcasts and on all Alexa-enabled devices. For past shows, please go to our Cooking Without Looking YouTube channel. And if you'd like to donate to our Vision World Foundation, we'd love it if you would, to help us change the way we see blindness. Please go to our website at www.cookingwithoutlookingtv.wordpress.com and click on the link right at the top of the page. For more information, you're welcome to telephone us at 305-200-9104. And thank you to the Florida Division of Blind Services and Civil Rights Attorney Benjamin Crump for their sponsorship. And a special thanks to our friends at the American Council of the Blind Community Events for their kind support of our show. I'm Allen Preston, and on behalf of Ralph Smith, Annette Watkins, and all of us at the Cooking Without Looking TV show and Vision World Foundation, and just for Annette Watkins, bye for now.